where there are a bunch of neurons that send diffuse projections of norepinephrine up to the cerebral cortex. And that area is called the locus coeruleus. Locus coeruleus. And I've seen a few different ways of spelling this, but this is the one I'm familiar with. I'm sure any of them are fine. And then there is serotonin. Serotonin. And there are a number of nuclei at all levels of the brainstem, up here in the midbrain and down here in the pons and in the medulla, that are all called the raphe nuclei. Raphe. And these raphe nuclei release serotonin, and my understanding is it's mostly the ones that are higher up that send diffuse projections up to the cerebral cortex to release serotonin, and that these raphe nuclei also send serotonin to other parts of the nervous system. And last up, although I'm sure there's probably more, but last up that I want to talk about of these diffuse projection systems releasing neurotransmitters onto the cerebral cortex involves the neurotransmitter dopamine. Dopamine. And for dopamine, there's an area here-ish in the midbrain that diffusely projects dopamine onto the cerebral cortex. And that area is called the ventral tegmental area. And I'll just write VTA for short, for the ventral tegmental area. So all of these diffuse projection systems sending neurotransmitters through widespread areas of the cerebral cortex are, again, very important to the higher functions of the nervous system, like aspects of cognition and emotion and consciousness. And many psychiatric disorders appear to involve dysfunction of these neurotransmitter systems, and many of the psychoactive medications appear to influence neurotransmitter release from these diffuse projection systems to the cerebral cortex. Now, for dopamine in particular, there are a couple of other projection systems of dopamine that aren't to the cerebral cortex, but that are important for functions of the nervous system and can become problems for medications that affect dopamine neurotransmission. One of these is right next to the ventral tegmental area in the midbrain. I'll actually draw them overlapping because they're so close together. And it sends axons releasing dopamine to a couple of nuclei deep in the cerebral hemisphere. And these are all actually parts of the basal ganglia. So this collection of neurons in the midbrain that is projecting dopamine is called the substantia nigra. Substantia nigra. And it's actually projecting dopamine up to another part of the basal ganglia called the striatum. And if there's some problem with this system, some problem of the substantia nigra getting dopamine to the striatum, that appears to be what happens with Parkinson's disease. So I won't go more into that now, but that's very important for Parkinson's disease and other disorders that have Parkinsonism, or the symptoms and signs of Parkinson's disease. There are also dopaminergic neurons in the hypothalamus. And these dopaminergic neurons